Hey everyone, I'm here with a response to the Talk Wrestling HD episode that I just watched, the newest one that Jeff Meacham put out, basically titled the fact that that video that I just watched will get more views than TNA No Surrender. Okay, now that I've thought about it for a while, I know I've said a lot about TNA, I know I've said certain things about TNA and tried to support them, and I still do support TNA. I do support TNA, but I will say this. A lot of people have been questioning as to why TNA is pushing EV 2.0. I've said this before. It's about nostalgic reasons. That's why they're pushing EV 2.0. Give them one last push, but don't push them in a way that's like, this Sunday, like let's say this Sunday Sabu will win the X Division title. No, push him in a way that makes him look good one last time, but allows them to put over the younger guys. That's what's going on here. Yes, Stevie Richards beat Abyss on Impact last night. I'm not denying that. Stevie's probably one of the rare guys that was with ECW from the beginning almost that could still go. That's fine. That's fine. But let me just shoot with you right here and tell you why exactly TNA has these guys. Why Dixie Carter signed each and every one of them to contracts. From EV 2.0 to Hulk Hogan, to Eric Bischoff, to Sting, to Nash. Let me explain why she signed them. Like even guys like Kurt Angle and Rhino. Let me explain it. And I don't know. Let me explain. I don't know if TNA is going to put this in the storyline later down the road as they get close to Bound for Glory. But let me explain why they did it. Because as much as we hate to admit it, as much as you, me, and any other wrestling fan out there hates to admit it, the reason they've signed the likes of EV 2.0, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Sting, Kevin Nash, Kurt Angle, Rhino, and the list could go on, is because to those in TNA like Dixie Carter, and I have respect for her, I have respect for Dixie Carter because she's the only so-called owner, president that actually interacts with the fans and puts the fans first. I will admit I do have respect for that. But the reason she, her father, and anybody else in charge has brought these guys in is because to them, people like AJ, Joe, Beer Money, Kazarian, Inc., Douglas Williams, Matt Morgan, Jay Lethal, the Beautiful People, and the list could go on. Those that have been with TNA from the beginning, that you could call TNA originals, to those in the offices of TNA, like Dixie Carter, like Bob Carter, who acknowledge the fact that these men and women have been with the company before the likes of Hogan and Sting and Nash and Flair came aboard. Unfortunately, the reason this is happening is because Dixie Carter, Bob Carter, and those in the offices of TNA believe that no wrestling fan around the world, not the majority of wrestling fans, if you will, let's put it that way, not the majority of wrestling fans will know who AJ Styles is. Not a majority of them will know who Samoa Joe is. Not a majority will know who the Beautiful People are. Not a majority of them will know who Jay Lethal is. Not a majority of them will know who Beer Money is, who Kazarian is, who Douglas Williams is, and Matt Morgan, and like I said, the list goes on. None of them will know who many of these people are. They won't even know who the Motor City Machine Guns are. They won't even know who Generation Me is. They won't even know who Jesse Neal is. That's why TNA, people in TNA like Dixie Carter, like her father Bob Carter, like those behind the scenes, that's why they brought in people like Hogan, Flair, Sting, Nash, Kurt Angle, Rhino, who else? Team 3D. And again, the list could go on. That's the reason they brought them in, because they know if they have these names on their roster or associated with their company, to them, they're going to have people thinking, oh, Hulk Hogan's in TNA. Let's check it out. Let's see what he could. Let's see what that's about. Or, oh, Ric Flair's in TNA. Sting's in TNA. That's what it's about. It's about big names drawing audiences, and not having faith that those that have been with the company from the beginning, like AJ, like Joe, like Beer Money, can draw. That's why they brought in the likes of Hogan and Sting and Bischoff and Flair. And again, and Angle and all that, because they draw. Their names draw people in. I mean, let's take a look this way. If you were to have Bound for Glory this year, and the marquee main event would be AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe, TNA World Title from the Ocean Center in Daytona Beach, Florida. Now, true, the Ocean Center may get sold out because, you know, Florida is basically TNA territory. I'm not denying that. But if you were to put Bound for Glory in another venue, like let's say you were to take it and put it in, I don't know, Madison Square Garden, let's just say that, if you're lucky, if TNA was ever lucky enough to do that. Let's say they do that and they say the marquee is AJ versus Joe. Not many fans would show up there. Yeah, they'll show up at the Hammerstein Ballroom because that's a TNA-like environment. But you do that in Madison Square Garden, or a place like Madison Square Garden, or let's say what else? Let's say the Staples Center here in the Staples Center in Los Angeles, or the Arco Arena down in Sacramento. If you were to put the marquee for a main event like Bound for Glory at one of those venues, and you were to say Styles and Joe main event, you'd get people coming. You'd probably get TNA fans, but the majority of the wrestling base that TNA would want wouldn't come, because to Dixie Carter and Bob Carter and those behind the scenes, not the majority of wrestling fans wouldn't know who those two are. They wouldn't know them. They wouldn't know them unless, you know, suddenly one of them signed with WWE. Then they look over the biography on Wikipedia and say, oh, that guy was in that TNA organization. No wonder he sounds familiar or looks familiar. You know, that's why, you know, they'll put, again, that's why they're making guys like Hogan and Flair the focal point. That's why they're making EV 2.0 and the Feud with Fortune the focal point. That's why they got guys like Kurt Angle and Jeff Hardy and the Pope and Anderson in the main event. Because these are names that draw. That's the truth. They're names that draw. I mean, I can guarantee you this. If TNA could get their hands on Triple H or Shawn Michaels, to them that would be like, we've got Triple H, we've got Shawn Michaels, now we're really going to draw. That's why a lot of the guys that are a lot of the men and women that are TNA originals, that's why a lot of them have left, in my opinion. It's because they realize they're not going to get pushed anymore because of all these big names showing up. Now I agree with Jeff. You know, push the likes of AJ, push the likes of Beer Money, push the likes of Kazarian and Douglas Williams and Jay Lethal and Inc. and all that. Push them to the moon. Push them to the moon. Don't go back on what WCW did and wait till the last minute in it to say, oh, if we don't get our act together, we're going to lose business. We're going to go out of business. And here's the other thing too. Excuse me for a second while I check my time. Okay, I got about 4 minutes to go or something like that. But here's the other thing too. They got this storyline going with Abyss. Now first, the whole storyline made us think that EV 2.0 was the day that Abyss was talking about. Then we thought it was Fortune. Now they're throwing us another curveball by saying it's neither one of them, it's somebody else. Who the hell is the day that Abyss is talking about? I mean, what could it be? Is it something to do with Sting and Nash, which wouldn't be a surprise? Is it something with a lot of the TNA original men and women that are sick and tired of all these older people and people from the WWE coming in? Is that it? Or could it be another promotion? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if TNA is working in conjunction with a promotion, and making them be the they that Abyss is talking about. I mean, heck, you know what went through my mind? I was thinking about this, and I look at the weapon they gave Abyss called Janice, and I think to myself, there's only one promotion that's ever used weapons like that in wrestling, and that's CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling. And I'm thinking to myself, it can't be. There's no way TNA would associate themselves with that group. But then again, you never know. You never know. They might even be partnering with Ring of Honor, have Ring of Honor come in and do something, or with Dragon Gate or something. I don't know. Heck, we're hearing about this promotion getting started up in Florida called the WWP. Maybe that's the day. We don't know. But again, my strong thought was, could it be maybe CZW? Because I wouldn't put it past Dixie Carter. I wouldn't put it past anybody behind the scenes at TNA to do that. But what else are you gonna? Who else are you gonna point the finger and say, oh, that's the day they talk about? I mean, if a lot of people are thinking, oh, it's going to be Hogan and Bischoff and Nash, and they're going to reform the NWO and TNA, and that's the day Abyss is talking about, then that would kill ratings. Okay? But I do agree with some of the things Jeff said, and I do agree with some of the things people commented on after his video. But that's just my take on it. You got your own take on it? Let me know. And I'm going to put this hopefully as a video response to what he just did, and I'll talk to y'all later.